Hey guys, and welcome to Diabetic 365. And today we have a very special guest, Reyna from betabuddies.com. And her son Joe is diagnosed with diabetes when he was 3 years old, and now he is 7, probably like from the past 4 years he's having this type 1 diabetes. But Reyna, his mother, is acting as his pancreas 24/7. So she's here to share with us all the ups and downs for the past 4 years. And welcome to our show. And before getting started, I have a small request. Please go through our diabetes recipe, diabetes exercise, and also diabetes tip for today. And I have those links above. So getting started with Reyna. Hey Reyna, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, BJ.
You too, it's a pleasure. So, tell us, when was first Joe diagnosed, and what was your first reaction as a mother?
Okay, Joe was first diagnosed almost 5 years ago now. He was 3 years and about 4 months old, and my husband had started noticing or verbalizing what we were noticing, which was Joe was frequenting the water dispenser on the fridge, and he was needing water every time we went on a car ride, several glasses of water before bed at night. I think I was in denial. I was a nurse at the time working in a surgical and pediatric ICU, and I didn't want to be an alarmist, but I kind of pushed the signs to the side there for a few weeks, but they became so extreme that we couldn't ignore them any longer. His diapers were extremely heavy. His overnight diapers, and then even just 2 hours worth of urine, the diapers were just so heavy those last 2 days before I took him in. So I called the physician's office and let them know how much Joe was drinking, and they seemed a little alarmed, and they got him in early that same day, and I picked him up from preschool, and the teacher let me know that they had found Joe in the bathroom, literally hunched over the faucet and splashing his mouth with water. That's when I knew something was wrong. Before then, I was still in denial and thought perhaps I was overreacting, but at that moment in time, I knew that Joe had something going on, and I was suspicious that it was type 1 diabetes.
So since you're a nurse, you knew those classical symptoms what he is exhibiting?
I did. I had it down to diabetes mellitus or diabetes insipidus or iatrogenic diabetes. So I had studied the three and knew which one I kind of hoped it was. And I have to say that even as a nurse that worked in the ICU and worked with kids in DKA, I was not prepared for what our life would be after Joe's diagnosis. I had no clue.
So tell us your first week experience when Joe was diagnosed.
Well,
it was so overwhelming. You didn't know what to do.
First off, I'll go from Joe. Joe handled it like a champ. He first blood draw in the ER, first shot in the ER. Joe was a champ and handled it with grace, as he has most of the day in and day out grind of diabetes care. As his mom, it's hard to go back there. And trust me, I'm not I'm fine with it now. I was devastated. Your child is starting out life he's 3 years old, and I felt he was kind of starting out behind the 8 ball with such a big disease to manage day in and day out. So, it was overwhelming. I had no appetite. I lost a few pounds. That wasn't a bad thing. But in just organizing the supplies and learning this new life of trying to monitor what a 3-year-old, every morsel of food he's eating, giving him shots, the finger pokes, and checking him at night. Overwhelmed. My husband described it as drinking water through a fire hose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know this is like a dark cloud, and it took a lot of time for you to get out of that. So can you tell us some of the experiences, the positive things that you learned from this experience?
Yes.
I don't want to go on to the negative side.
No, I don't either. I think through it all, BJ, and what I hope to show other families through my writing and just through seeing Joe live with diabetes is that he is indeed living with diabetes. Joe is a very active child. He plays hockey, he plays soccer, he plays baseball, he rollerblades, and he can do all those things with diabetes, and he lives life to the fullest, and I don't try to hold him back at all. I just try to grow and learn how to support him as he grows and starts to take over some of his diabetes care on his own.
So before he took over his diabetes care on his own, you were acting 24/7, 365 days as his live pancreas. So
well, and still he hasn't taken it over. He's 8, so there's a lot of consulting and teaching and supervising that is still going on. And I still think of myself as his head pancreas in charge, but it's a temporary position. So sorry, I just wanted to correct.
What's your experience as a live pancreas for your child, Joe?
Well, it's a difficult job, especially when he was 3, 4, and 5. I found his blood sugars to be extremely labile. Diabetes loves routine. Loves routine. A 3-year-old, you can't predict what he's going to eat, what he's going to spill on the floor, how much he's going to run on the playground, or if he's going to decide he's not going to be as active today as he was yesterday. And then you've got growth hormone and all of that involved. And so I found the first few years to be very difficult, very labile, and I just was very diligent and continue to be very diligent in logging his numbers and keeping track of what's going on so that I can adjust his insulin needs accordingly.
So being as a nurse, does that help you in any sense of helping your child, Joe, than other parent who is not a nurse or a doctor?
I would like to say yes, and I cannot tell you the many times that people have said, Joe's so lucky because you're a nurse. I don't feel it really prepared me at all as far as the thinking behind pancreating for Joe. It perhaps helped me in the beginning with being comfortable with needles and checking a blood sugar and giving shots. With that, sure, with the manual tasks of it, but probably not as much with the critical thinking, and then and also supporting the psychosocial emotional component of the disease, which for me I think is, for me in watching Joe, I can see that's where the grind is. That's to me the bigger issue, I think.
Mm-hmm. So later, when he was 4 or 5 years old, when you sent him to school by himself, so how did he manage the whole day when you were not there with him?
Good question. When he was in preschool,
And also, one more, I mean, I'm going to come to that next. How confident are you letting him go out without yourself being there at that point?
Okay. I'll go. So when he was in preschool, because the school didn't receive any, it was a private school and it didn't receive federal funding, and so technically they didn't have to give insulin, and that was fine. I wasn't comfortable with that at that point anyways. So they knew how to check a blood sugar and treat a low and give glucagon. I would train the teachers how to do that, and then I would hang out and give him his insulin at snack time and lunchtime. Then when he started kindergarten, there's a school nurse at his school every hour of the day. We're very lucky. And so I went over her routine, or over Joe's routine with her, and we devised times during the day he should be checked, a plan for PE, or if there's extra recesses in the day, he may need to be checked because he plays very hard. He's very active. The first year when he was in school, I remember I had to visually lay my eyes. I had to see the nurse before I was comfortable leaving the school building. I have a great relationship with his nurse, and I feel so totally confident now when he is at school. His school has gone above and beyond to make sure that Joe is safe while he is in attendance.
That's